Hello, all. For tonight's review of my continuing series on 1970s dystopian science fiction movies, I just saw a terrific movie which I did not see when it was initially released in 1970, uh, probably because it's British, and it was somewhat hard for us to get British films over here in the U.S. Um, I would have been too young to see it anyway. I was only 11 in 1970, and this is definitely an R-rated picture. Um, it's No Blade of Grass, like I said, based on the John Christopher novel, The Death of Grass. Um, for those who don't know, John Christopher is a British science fiction writer. Um, it was written partly and directed and produced by Cornel Wilde, of all people. He used a pen name. The other writer on the screenplay was Sean Forrestal. Um, it stars um, uh, Nigel Davenport as the main character, John Custance, um, Jean Wallace as his wife, Lynne Frederick as his daughter, Mary, John Hamill as his cousin Roger, Wendy Richard and Anthony May as a couple. Anthony May plays a character who's kind of a bad guy, but he's also sort of a good guy. His name is Perry. He says his name is Andy Perry, Andrew Perry, but you don't learn that till later. And Wendy Richard plays his wife, who's a bit of a slut and is portrayed that way. And George Colouris is in it, and Christopher Neame, and a bunch of other British actors. It's an interesting story. It's not about, the aftermath of a nuclear apocalypse. Instead, there has been a disease which is starting to wipe out grass everywhere in the world. It starts in China and causes 600 million deaths reportedly, including 300 million whom the Chinese killed themselves to attempt to contain this disease. It's a virus of some sort that just wipes out all grass. It's causing massive starvation. There's reports of cannibalism in South America, rioting, total breakdown, basically, of modern civilization. And it stars, like I said, the main character's name is John Custance. He's an architect, and he and his wife they have to get out of London because London is about to be sealed off, quote unquote, and they're not going to let anybody travel outside of London. And the rumor is that they're going to bomb London with nerve gas and kill everybody to contain this horrible disease that's killing everybody and causing such awful effects. They managed to get into a couple of cars, and along with his friend Roger and his children, they are and a boy who they take with them, is called Spooks, which I thought was funny, and they're going to try and get to his brother's farm in Westmoreland, northern England, and up in Yorkshire somewhere. And first, they're blocked by army people they decide that they have to have guns. The first thing that you see is rioting breaking out in London. They're trying to drive out, and people are trying to turn their car over, and then the police come and they run from the police, and somebody throws a Molotov cocktail and blows up a couple of cars, and it kind of distracts people, and they can get away now. But they reach a military checkpoint, and they go to a gun shop and waken the owner and tell him, we need some ammunition. And he says, well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What did it come for now? But he's going to let them have it, but he wants to see Custance's gun permit. He said, I didn't take it with me. We'd like a couple of pistols too. And he says, oh, I don't know. I can't really give it to you without a permit. That'd be breaking the law. And he says, Custance actually has a 45. He says, okay, now stick them up, and we're going to take the guns. And his assistant, who is played by Anthony May as this guy Andy Perry, draws a gun on them and says, you stop. Now you're breaking the law. But he says, you don't understand what it's like out there. It's anarchy. Everything's breaking down, and if we don't get out of here now, we have absolutely no chance of survival. And there's rumors that the government's going to bomb London and nerve gas everybody. The guy says, "Oh, that's nonsense. I believe in the government." And he's about to. It's George Coulouris plays the character. I'm going to think on. I'm going to tell the police, and he starts to pick up the phone to call the police, and Peary shoots him. It says, well, Peary says, "What if they're right?" And he says, "Oh, they're not right." And Peary shoots him anyway, and he says, "Okay, we're all going, and let's get going." Uh, so he agrees, Custance agrees to take Peary and his wife, played by Wendy Richard, who some of you may know from Are You Being Served? And she goes along with him, and they're they run into a military roadblock. They're not letting people travel outside of London, and Peary and Custance and Roger are hiding out in the bushes with a couple of guns, and they are forced to shoot the military people so they can get through and kill them, which disgusts his wife, but there really wasn't anything else they could do. So they break through the barricade, and they're heading up north, and Peary has, Custance has a map, to get them there. And the next thing, that they come to a railroad crossing, and the bridge closes, and but there's no train coming. Custance tries to go in and bribe like the bridge master to let them through, and somebody hits him over the head with a block of wood, and there's these like violent bikers, and they viciously rape his wife and his daughter before Peary can come, and he shoots one of them, and then the wife actually shoots another, but the leader actually gets away. They're obviously very traumatized, and it was pretty graphic for 1970. Apparently that scene was cut from the television version, and also from the American version that was shown, but it was later reinstated on the DVD and Blu-ray editions. Then they've managed to soldier on, as it were, and they keep going north. They run into a gang of, this time, like farmers, and they block their way with a tractor and insist that they give up, that they have guns too, and there's a lot more of them. They insist that they give up their cars and their guns and everything. They allow them to keep their clothes, but they take everything else. And he says, please let us just have one car. We got to go 100 miles. And he says, no, sorry, no cars. And, but they will let them keep their clothes. So now they're on foot, and they're making this long, arduous journey. They come to a farmhouse. Again, unfortunately, Custance is forced to kill the farmer when he draws a gun on him, and rather brutally kills his wife. And there's what was a fairly gory scene for 1970. Shoots her through the back, and you see the blood kind of burst out her back, which is really kind of gross, but realistic. And they take what they need from the farm. They get some food and some supplies and some more guns now, and they're going to continue on. They continue on north, and eventually they run into a group of people. They're by kind of an aqueduct, an old Roman aqueduct, and they're like 6 or 7 or 8 families, and they're led by this kind of arrogant guy who says, he says, Custance says, we're looking for recruits. He says, well, we're not, and if you want to join us, you can join us, but, I'm the leader, and, we're not going to take any guff from anybody. And again, Peary shoots him. And then he says, now to anybody, any of you want to come with us? And all of a sudden, everybody wants to come with them. And so he said, well, go up and shake hands with Mr. Custance, and, if you're coming with us, and introduce yourself. And they do that. And they're, now going to all go along with them. I'm sorry, I missed a pivotal scene. But before that happens, they're hiding out in like an old grain mill, and they're taking shifts on to watch. And Custance takes the first shift, and then Peary comes to relieve him. But before that, his wife, Wendy Richard, comes into Clara, is the name of her character, comes into Custance, just kind of coming onto him. And Peary kind of catches her. He's really upset, not with Custance, but with her. And he starts like twisting her arm. She says, hey, you're hurting me. And Custance is asking him to stop. And he says, well, she's my wife. I get to say, what I do to her, not you. And they get into like a big argument. And eventually Peary actually kills her. And he said something like, I've been wanting to do that for quite a while. And so now you know he's really kind of a psychotic, uh, which doesn't bode well for him in the future. Uh, but again, he's such a good shot that Custance doesn't dare really challenge him or lose him as an asset. Uh, and that turns out to be, positive, both positive and negative. They meet, like I said, with this bunch of people, and now they're all going along with him. They're trying to get to his brother's farm in, like I said, in Yorkshire, and they go through various trials and travails. There's a woman who's pregnant, and Mary Custance helps deliver the baby, but it's stillborn, and she has memories of her own rather difficult labor with her daughter, um, and that's shown in flashback. And then they see all these dead animals and dead birds. Their kids are going to drink out of the lake, and Custance says, "No, don't do that. It's poisoned. It's there's factories upstream, and it's all polluted. You can't drink the water." And they find all these dead animals, dead sheep, dead cows, dead foxes, dead ravens. Everything's dying because the grass is dying, and they have nothing to. The animals have nothing to eat either. Um, Again, they're making their way north. They come to a military encampment, and there's some sort of internal fight going on. There's bombs exploding and people shooting each other. And another military troop arrives, and one of the people from the encampment says, "Listen here, you men, you know, you need to obey us now, and we're in command, and you need to do what you're told." And the leader of that group, he has a sergeant with him who's got a machine gun. He says, "Everybody who doesn't obey, get in line. Anybody who doesn't obey, shoot him." And instead, what the leader, the other group, shoots the sergeant and shoots the lieutenant as well. And then they go down and raid that installation. Um, this is kind of a distraction, and that the group goes on, and as they're nearing the area where the farm is, they are beset by a gang of motorcycle riding hoodlums and a big biker gang. And the leader of the gang is the guy who raped Custance's wife and escaped. And Custance says, "Come on, go up into the hills." And they go up into a hilly area behind where the bikers are on the road, and now they have the high ground, as it were. And they have about 10, 20 guns between them, and they manage, against rather overwhelming odds, to kill all of the bikers, including the leader, who you see he's got a leather jacket and it says "the Führer." That's a little bit of a Nazi reference there, and he was also wearing an Iron Cross on the back, paint on the back of his jacket. So they're all killed, and now they finally make it to the farm, and they're instantly fired upon by Custance's brother David, who is he tells him, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you. Imperius is wounded, but not killed." And he waves a white flag, and he says, "It's me, John." And he says, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And they didn't know it was you. They don't know you, and you can come in. And he has kind of a parlay with David, and he says, "Look, you and Mary and your wife can come in, and Roger, of course, because we agreed to that. But we can't take all these other people. There's not enough food for everybody. It's not possible. What you can do is you can tell them they can camp here for the night, and then they can go on, and you and Mary and your family and the kids can come in, but nobody else." Well, that's not really acceptable to Custance. He's now become the leader of this group, and he wants the whole group to survive, not just his family. So he comes to them, and he gives them the proposition that his brother made, and said, "Look, we can either do two things. We can fight our way in, or we can go on somewhere and look for someplace else." And Roger said, "Well, there's a third alternative. You can go in, and I can stay out here with these people." And he says, "No, I'm not going to let that happen." So they wait until dark, and they agree they're going to fight. And they wait until dark, and Custance and Perry go into the river. He knows this river because, again, he grew up here. This is his family's farm, and he knows how they can get in. But his brother has, amongst other things, he's got a machine gun and several, very good soldiers working for him. They fire back at him, and somebody's firing the machine gun. Perry shoots him, and then another guy takes on the machine gun, and he shoots that guy. And then eventually only David is left, and he mans the machine gun, and Custance begs Fury, don't kill him, but there's nothing he can do. He's not gonna. None of them are gonna live. If Custance would have been killed, and he would have been killed if he let him man the machine gun. So he has to kill David, and he does. But David also kills him. Machine guns him, and he sinks down into the river. So that's the end of Fury, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because, like I say, he was basically a psychotic. The ending is really interesting. They break in, and again, some of the people from the compound, David's people, come up to meet Lynne and says, "Wait, we've got the machine gun, and we don't want to do any more killing. Put down your guns." And they say, "Oh my God, they've got the machine gun." So they agree. They bury David and some of the other people that they killed, and they say in the little sort of religious ceremony, "We're sorry, and we hope God forgives us for what we did, and takes care of our loved ones." And then they're all sort of marching off into the farm. They all look kind of downbeaten and sad, and the imagery goes to his solarize. It goes to solarization, which is a negative image, and a voiceover says, "This film was not a documentary, but it could be." There's kind of a warning that if we let if we ruin the environment with pollution and nuclear testing and germ warfare and chemical warfare, this could happen. I think it was really well done. Very brutal for the 1970s, but again, also realistic. There's scenes of anarchy and breakdown of society, and the scenes of the dead animals and things are really, and the effects of constant destruction of the environment eventually are going to take their toll, and that's not fiction. So that's still very frightening and very relevant today.